Two guys on the injury report, Marcus and Rob, are they playing?
Haven't heard back yet. Still deciding on that. Just kind of seeing how they are when they come.
When you see another team come in kind of hurting, a lot of guys out, I know you guys have had a few bad games in a row, but there is a tendency to kind of relax a little bit there. How do you get these guys to come out with the right sense of urgency?
I mean, I think we want to be relaxed at the same time, have the right sense of urgency. So I thought we were relaxed in the second half of Indiana, but also had a sense of urgency. So I think that's what we're learning as a team now is like how to find that balance of both, being relaxed, executing, but at the same time having the sense of urgency.
Joe, defensively, you've had stretches this season that you felt good about, and then first half last game looked like some guys got cut by disconnectedness. Just what are you kind of seeing during those lapses that you guys need to tighten up on to, get the consistency on that end that you're looking for?
I mean, we have consistency. I think we're top 10. We're 8th in the league in defense. So I don't think one half shows the habits that we've consistently been building, and I think it's the only positive thing that we've had from an analytical standpoint during our tough stretch here. In the last 10 games, we're top 5 in defense. So I don't look to one half. And again, like the way we played in the second half shows that was even more of a, one time.
And what has kind of the response of the team been last couple of days, conversations, things like that, to what happened on Wednesday?
I think they responded by the way they played in the second half, and then just feeding off that.
Earlier today, Brad was talking about how it's easy to trust your guys when things are going really well and you're winning, and obviously it's a lot more challenging when you're through these in a losing streak. So what has been the challenge, and at what point, I guess, throughout the losing you've had over the last couple of weeks, have you found a point where it's like, I have to trust these guys, and you've seen them respond well to
I don't think it's a challenge at all. I think I ended my press conference after the game with, in moments like this, you trust your players because of who they are and what they've been through. So I think it's kind of easy for me because of how good are the guys we have. So it's been really easy to trust them. And it just kind of is what it is, I think there's moments of understanding, your environment, things that are going on, and also understanding the standard that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year, and that it's a long season. And so it's very easy for me to trust our guys.
I know it's only been a couple of weeks of you having to deal with this, but I guess how have you grown, do you feel, over the course of the season in the job, and especially in tougher times? Like, how do you think you've, surprised yourself, maybe?
I don't know. That'd be a good question to ask you, I guess. How do you think? Yeah. So I don't know. I'm learning something every game. So I think regardless of if we play well or not, there's 3 or 4 things that I, saw like, hey, it's this. And so I think regardless of whether we were winning or losing, I was trying to stay open-minded to the fact that, like, I'm going to fail. I'm going to make mistakes, but, I'm going to learn from it.
After that Phoenix game where you guys won by 1 million points, you mentioned how there were like 20, 30 possessions where you felt you could have done better. And earlier today, Brad was talking about how one of the hard parts is not, like living and dying off all those little mistakes and kind of being able to take a step back. So where do you feel like you are in that process of getting comfortable with all that?
Like what?
I guess not sweating over like a few possessions here or there that you feel you could have done better, and kind of appreciating the overall picture.
It's kind of funny though, because when we're winning, those possessions don't get talked about, but when we lose, those are the same possessions that we talk about.
I mean, there's probably a little bit more of them probably in those games.
Sometimes there's less. I thought in the 2 Orlando games there was less than there were in the Phoenix game, and even when we were on the winning streak, I felt like there's a lot of possessions that nobody talked about that I'm like, if we didn't win, we'd be talking about that, So I think it's just a balance of like, what are your habits regardless of the result? And it's something that we're pretty good at, but I think this stretch is helping us get better at it. And so you kind of have to do both, right? Like when the brain isn't locked in on things when you're winning. They're locked in on the reasons why you're winning, not the things that could be building negatively. And so I think it's just a balance. Because I said the other day that we played a great game against Orlando, and everybody thought I was crazy. But they didn't think I was crazy when we won, and I said we didn't play that well. So that's the brain for you.
It seems like you're aware of the things that are being said on the outside to at least some degree. I mean, you talk to us. What's the difference between the perception and the reality? What people are thinking now versus what's really going on behind the scenes.
It's a great word I learned, confabulation. Have you heard that word before?
Nope.
It's a great word. And so in moments of when you don't have a reason, the brain looks to find one.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's not a reason that someone likes as to why we're losing. We're just going to make up a reason as to why we're losing. Or if the brain doesn't like this idea, it's just then like, oh, well, it must be this. And so it's to stay out of the state of confabulation and more in the state of what's true, what's going on, what's happening. That's from David Sparks, works in our BIA, so he credited me with that word.
Joe, if the playing hard thing came up the first half, not the second half,
Yes.
against Indiana, I know this is professional, but can you take guys, like if guys aren't playing hard, you notice, or they're not running back on defense, is taking playing time away like a possibility? How do you deal with this at this level? Obviously,
Yeah.
in the previous level, you could just bench them.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
college. But
Yeah.
at the professional level, egos get involved. How do you kind of have that discipline if you see guys are not doing 100%?
I think it's not really about the effort as much as it's the intent. And so these guys are really good players, and they care, and they play really hard. So I don't think our guys intentionally go out to not play hard. I think, similar with the brain, the effort wanes when you're naturally consumed with something else. And so when you're not making shots and you're making detailed mistakes, your effort naturally wanes. That's just kind of how it works. And so to me, I'm sitting there judging the intent of our guys, and because I think that they're trying to play the right way and we're just kind of in our own head, whether it's an execution thing or whether it's we're not making shots or we're not making the right read. So that to me is different than like I'm just not trying today because I don't feel like it. And so I think our guys have the right intent, to which that's why I don't get concerned when there's a half or a quarter of, you know, not the highest effort that we need to win. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.